What's up, Porsche fanatics? Will here with Rennthusiast, my YouTube channel centering on air-cooled Porsche 911 ownership experience. If you are here because you can't find any no-nonsense videos about what Recaro Expert S's look like in a classic Porsche 911 and feel like that, I've got great news for you, because that's exactly what I'm going to be giving you today. In this video, I'll be giving you footage of what the seats look like in the car sitting still, my opinions on functionality, a review of what it's like to drive the car with these seats as compared to the factory seats, and then at the end of this video, I'm going to let you know whether I would recommend doing this mod to your classic Porsche 911. Before I get into the main event though, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my channel and go check out my Facebook group, Rennthusiast Air-Cooled Porsche Fans. Also, please give this video a thumbs up. It helps other people just like yourself find it. So let me give you a little bit of background here. I have always wanted Recaro seats, even back in my BMW days. So before I came to the dark side of air-cooled Porsches, I was really into E30s and E46 M3s and all those kind of good BMWs. But back in those days, I wanted Recaros, but I just never really had a source. I never understood fitment, and I was always kind of nervous about buying a set without knowing what they would feel like and all that good stuff. And so it's been something that I've wanted to do for quite some time. I think that they add a very sporty, kind of hooligan vibe to the car. Definitely they add a performance component as well. And so I was very excited when I was able to identify a source for these seats. This 86 sitting behind me has been a little bit of an interesting conundrum for me lately. I love this car. I love everything about it. Kind of like a double-edged sword too. The car is very original, to the degree where you really don't want to get into it and start hot rodding it. So I've been looking for some reversible mods that would allow me to kind of take the car to the next level in a way that wouldn't meddle with the originality. And so I've identified a couple of things. Seats, obviously the point of this video, and some wheels, and I'll do another video on that. But basically, I decided to pull the trigger on these Recaros because I wanted to modify this 86, and because it's always been a dream of mine to have a set of seats like these. So let's now jump into some walk-around footage. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how they look and kind of what it's like to get in and out with them in there. And then after that, I'll do a driving review of the seats and let you know kind of what it feels like real time as I'm driving the car. To hopefully inform your decision about whether or not maybe you want to do something like this. So let's get into the walk-around footage now. Okay guys, here we are. I'm gonna give you some footage of the seats just sitting here, and then I'll give you the driving review of how they feel to drive. But this is how they look sitting in the car. I was a little bit nervous about putting black seats on this beige interior, but I think what works well is the fact that I have a black dash, and there's some black accents on the door. So I do think that it works well. So let me start from the top. I've talked about this in a couple of previous videos, but with this 86, while it is a gorgeous example, I've been looking for some ways to make it a little bit more fun and change it up a little bit. Some of you guys know by now that I just have a hard time leaving cars alone. I'm constantly kind of meddling with them and changing them, and I know that some of you think I'm foolish for doing that, and I've learned some tough lessons, by the way. But with this 86, I've been looking for some ways to change it up, and these Recaros were suggested to me as a way to do that. And I gotta say, I'm really happy with how this turned out. The mods that I've been looking at doing, I want them to be reversible. This is a very nice original example 86 Porsche 911, and so I don't want to go making any real permanent changes to it. So with these seats, I really like how they look. The functionality is good. The sliders work nicely. They'll move forwards and backwards. You have the ability to adjust the backrest on it. I'll touch on this in my driving segment in a minute, but I just needed that for longer trips. There is an adjustable lumbar support here too, which is cool. I hate lumbar supports myself, and sorry about that light. But for those of you that might be into lumbar support, these seats offer them. The bolsters are large enough to notice, and they definitely show up when you're driving. They're not so big that it makes it difficult to get in and out of the car. The seat bottoms hold you in place. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, I would like your opinion on something out there. I'm giving thought to having the seat centers done up in a different fabric. Would love to hear your opinion on that. I completed a 993 Outlaw project where I did a lot of that work, and you know, it's rewarding and fun when it's done, but it often takes a long time and you're without your parts for a while it's getting done. And so I don't know that I'm going to do that with these seats. But you know, Pepita centers, something like that might be cool. Something to tie into the tan. I think the cocoa mats work well with these, by the way. You know. So overall, love the look. Let me now I'm going to take you out in the car and I'm going to give you my opinions on what these things feel like to actually use for the intended purpose. Okay guys, here we are with the driving segment of my Recaro Expert seat review in my 1986 Porsche 911. So I thought I would start off with the initial impressions of these seats. I've only been running them for maybe, I don't know, 100 miles or so, so I still have the memory of my stock seats in mind. And I will tell you that the first thing that I noticed when I jumped into the 86 after putting these seats in is that they are much lower to the floor than the stock seats, and I like that. It gives me a greater sense of control overall. So the way that it actually plays out is because I'm lower, it feels like the steering wheel is up a little bit higher, puts me in a better position to feel like I have better steering control. You know, it also, in terms of pedal control, it has my knees up a little bit higher in the air, and it also gives me a little bit better access to my shifter. So, you know, what I think of when I'm driving with these seats now is it's almost like one of those go-karts. I don't know if you remember those from when you were a kid. But you know, you're sitting real low and your knees are up a little bit higher, but overall it just gives you a better feeling of, you know, you're driving with intent, if that makes sense. All right, so I'm gonna be taking a left onto my favorite local driving road. We have some twisties just to kind of give a sense for how these seats perform. Got the back end loose a little bit there. Roads are a little slick. It's autumn and I got leaves and so forth and damp roads. So from a performance perspective, these Recaros hold you in place as they should. What I like about them too is the fabric, and I gotta believe that this was done intentionally. The fabric is very much anti-slip. So not only does the shape of the seat hold you in place, but also the fabric itself prevents you from sliding. So, you know, this is track stuff. I don't know how much track time you have, but obviously, you know, what they teach you there is the more energy you're expending trying to hold yourself in your seat with your knee against the door and that kind of thing, it distracts from the ability to really control the car because you're expending energy, psychological energy and physical energy holding yourself in place. So these seats give me a greater sense of confidence when driving this car. I'm already very, very comfortable with driving at high speeds on some of these roads, and you know, this is just taking it to the next level. I'm also going to tell you about, from a performance perspective, the weight reduction. So I have not put these on a scale against my stock seats, but I'm going to say this: these are much, much lighter, at least just in terms of the way that I know they're lighter is because I've had to carry the stock seats around as well as the Recaros, and I honestly feel like losing the weight of the stock seats has helped the performance, or at least the acceleration of the car. Now, is that psychological and maybe not physical? I don't know, but the car does feel sprightlier as a result of swapping the seats out. Now, I told you I'd touch on comfort. I find these seats to be mostly comfortable. I looked at the pole positions, those were fixed back. The ability to adjust the back is very, very important to me, which is why I went with these Experts. So overall, these seats are comfortable. I can get them in a position where I want them for what works for me. You know, the sliders will let me slide it back, you know, and move it forward depending on if I'm, you know, driving hard versus chilling on the highway. So the sliders are helpful. The back adjustment is helpful. I touched on this earlier in the video. It has a lumbar support, or a lumbar adjustment, excuse me, on it. I don't really care about that, but if you're looking at these seats and you're thinking about, hey, I need some lumbar support, at least it's there for you. I will say this, the support for my lower left butt cheek, sorry to be that way, but that's what it is, isn't there. It feels a little bit off to me. Now, honestly, it could be that I went for a long run yesterday. That's what could be bothering me a little bit, but I wish it had a little more support on the bottom of the seat. So let's talk about downsides of these seats while I'm waiting to take a left here. I like them mostly, but there's a couple of things you need to be aware of if you're considering buying these. Sorry, couldn't resist. So there are a couple of downsides in my view. If you end up buying these Recaros, there's two of them, really two main ones. The first one is that the fabric, and this is really for those of you out there who care about the appearance, the cleanliness of your car, this fabric lends itself to really grabbing onto little specks of dust and dirt and hairs. And with the jet black appearance, you know, it's going to show a lot of dirt. It easily comes off, but I've just noticed that in the short time I've owned them, they show a lot of dirt. So that's just something for you to be aware of. And then the second thing that I'll share with you, it's just really going to be a little bit of a minor annoyance, but when you're pulling the lap belt across, the bottom segment of the lap belt gets caught on the lumbar support, so you kind of like reach around and pull it through. And so for me, it's definitely not enough to be something that makes me sorry that I bought these seats, but it is just a little bit of an annoying kind of thing. Now, I want to touch on something too, because I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on this. I was not able to test these seats out before I bought them. I bought them sight unseen. I shouldn't say that. I saw the images on the website. I talked to the guy who sold them to me exhaustively about Fitbit and all that stuff, but I didn't get a chance to sit in them. A little bit of a leap of faith. I got burned doing a similar type of move with my 993 Outlaw build. I put a set of 996 turbo seats in that car without really getting a chance to test drive them, and I ended up hating how they felt. So I did take a little bit of a risk with these Recaros, and thankfully it's worked out okay. As I've shared with you, I really do like them. So tell me what you think about that. Is that a foolish move just to risk that kind of money and order seats, or would you work really, really hard to find a way to sit in them before you order them? Overall, would I recommend these Recaro Experts for your classic Porsche 911? The answer is yes. Overall, they look great, they feel great, they do what they're supposed to do, they hold you in place. Between the shape of the seat and the fabric, you're not going to be moving around a lot when you're hitting those back road twisties. And what I like about them too, and this ties into my overall objective for this 86, is that these are removable, so you can easily put your factory seats back in should you elect to sell the car, or if you just want to change it back up. And that's why I liked them so much, or at least I like them as an option for one of my mods. So overall, I would strongly recommend these seats. If you can't find them on your own, I'm happy to help you out. I can turn you on to the company that I bought them through. Just shoot me an email, please. You can hit me at therennthusiast@gmail.com. I hope you've gotten something out of this segment of the video. If you have any questions beyond just ordering some, again, just shoot me an email if you'd like, or leave the question in the comments. Okay, so there you have it. Hopefully this has given you some information to allow you to think through whether or not you would want to do a similar mod to the car. Would love to know your guys' opinion on changing out these centers, and also whether or not you would feel comfortable just jumping into a set of these without having had the chance to sit in them. So this is the kind of thing I do on this channel. If it intrigues you at all, please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and come join my Facebook group. It is air-cooled Porsche conversation 24/7. It's called Rennthusiast Air-Cooled Porsche Fans. By the way, be sure to answer the 4 questions that I asked you on the front end, or I'm just not going to be able to let you in. So if you're still with me, I really appreciate you sticking around this long, and I do hope to see you next time. I'm out of here.